Okay, so ready to dive in. Today we're looking at something, well, kind of mind-blowing. It's God's love after death, but from a different angle.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We're going to be talking about Gary Matthews and what he
Okay.
thought about, well, what happens to people who, let's just say, weren't exactly, devout followers during their time on Earth?
Right, right. It's a pretty fascinating take, actually. I mean, what really struck me about Matthews is this whole idea of God's love. He sees it as this incredibly powerful force,
Yeah.
like so powerful that it goes beyond, our typical understanding of like belief and acceptance.
So, like, what happens to us? I mean, to our, like, souls and all that?
Ah, good question. Well, Matthews, he believed that when we die, all those parts of us that we think of as our personality,
Mm.
like our thoughts, our wants, those doubts that we carry around, essentially what we call our ego, it just kind of poof.
Oh, wow.
It's like shedding this heavy coat you've been wearing on a long, long journey.
So it's not like heaven and hell and all that.
Not exactly. I think it's more like, okay, imagine you're standing right in the middle of a hurricane. You can try to brace yourself, fight against it, but that force, it's just going to sweep you away.
Wow. Okay.
That's kind of how he describes encountering God's love after death. It's not about judgment, but this all-encompassing, overwhelming love that just washes over you and everything else fades away.
Okay, but hold on. Doesn't that kind of go against, like, free will and all that?
Oh, I know, right? It's like if we're all getting caught in this love hurricane.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's the choice, right? But that's exactly the point that Matthews is trying to make.
Hmm.
He suggests that our true selves, the very core of who we are, it was actually formed, like, way before we were even born, in this state of pure love. So when we die and the ego fades, it's not losing ourselves. It's more like returning to that original state, that connection to God's love.
So does that mean everybody, like, ends up bowing down to Jesus or whatever?
Yeah, well, Matthews does use that imagery, but I think what he's really getting at is that when faced with this pure, unconditional love,
Yeah.
any resistance, it just disappears. It's not about being forced, but rather this natural surrender to something so powerful that it's beyond what we understand as belief here on Earth.
Whoa, this is pretty intense stuff. So how does this whole concept of God's love, like, affect us now, while we're still walking around with all our baggage?
Ah, that's where it gets really interesting. If we can even start to grasp this idea that love isn't just a feeling, but a fundamental force, it can change our entire perspective.
Oh, okay.
Suddenly, our relationships, struggles, even those little annoyances, everything takes on a whole new meaning.
So it's like, if we're all going to end up surrounded by this amazing love anyway, why not try to connect with it a bit now?
Precisely. It's not about earning it or being perfect.
Right.
It's about recognizing that it's already here, all around us, even within us. And once you start seeing the world through that lens, it changes everything.
This is giving me a lot to think about. Okay, so imagine this. That weight of our ego, it lifts after death, and we're immersed in divine love. Does that change how we live right now? Like, what choices would we make differently? How would we deal with challenges, relationships, even a normal day? It's a big thought, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And that's what I find so compelling about Matthews's ideas. He makes us look deeper, grapple with these big questions, and maybe, just maybe, start living a little differently because of what we discover.
Well, that's about all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Absolutely. It was great to be here.